What's up guys, this is anime crossover. I'm back with a new episode of What If Naruto Was the Red Flash part 43. And if you did enjoy the video, give this video a like, and if you're new on my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover fictions. Now let's begin this new video.
From the main monitor in the cortex, the crew looked at the security camera in one of the anti-metahuman cells in the pipeline. It was the video footage from the cell where Jay's body was dumped. He was still unconscious, and the cell, together with the power-dampening band on his wrist, would keep him there. Barry, Cisco, Iris, Linda, and Joe were surprised, shocked, and angry when they saw the camera footage because it included a mugshot and information on who Jay Garrick actually was. The realization that he had been deceiving them for the previous month hurt a lot, but the truth about who he truly was hurt even more. "That's Jay," Iris said, staring at the photograph of bearded insane Earth 2 serial killer Hunter Zolomon. "That's him, and we had the same reaction when we discovered the truth," Kushina said as she and Minato joined them. Mito was over on the side, sitting on a chair and having a big belly burger milkshake. "As if having another evil speedster wasn't bad enough, we've got one who's the Hannibal Lecter of his planet," Cisco observed. "I can't believe it happened again," Barry muttered angrily, his gaze fixed on the monitor. "Don't blame yourself, Barry, he duped all of us," Linda explained. "She's right, and you're not alone. Zoom duped everyone on our planet, including all of us. He was right under our nose the entire time and we had no idea, and he paraded around as the hero just to make us look like idiots," Minato reassured him. "Please accept my apologies. Given what has transpired, I believe some proper introductions are in order. Dr. Minato Namikaze, pleasure to meet you all. Dr. Kushina Uzumaki." Kushina introduced herself and beckoned for Mito to approach her, so she stood up and walked over. "And this is our daughter, Mito Uzumaki Namikaze." "Hello," Mito said, and they all returned his smile. "Hello," they all said, smiling and waving back. "So, you're Naruto's parents' doppelgangers," Cisco stated, and they nodded. "I had no idea Naruto had a sister," Iris added. Linda stated, "He doesn't. Things are a little different on our planet. Our Naruto passed away a few years ago," Minato explained. "The car accident that killed them on this Earth also killed him on their Earth, which was strange when we found out," Ronnie explained. "Even more so when they first met." "Very much so. Ronnie's doppelganger isn't exactly a good person on our planet," Kushina explained. Cisco asked, "Evil doppelganger?" Ronnie nodded. "I'm assuming we're all evil on this planet?" Ronnie said, Just you, me, and Caitlin. Barry is still a cop, but not the Flash. Iris is a cop, and Joe is a lounge singer." "I'm a what?" Joe asked, surprised. "Huh, I told you I'd be a good cop," Iris retorted. When Mito approached Linda, Joe advised her, "Don't get any bright ideas." Mito asked, "So, you're Linda?" Linda nodded. "Naruto frequently mentioned you, and he adores you." As she knelt, Linda couldn't help but smile. "Well, the feeling is mutual. I adore him, and it's a pleasure to meet you, Mito." When Minato and Kushina approached her, Mito remarked, "Nice to meet you. Naruto talked about you so much that we almost know you. He really did love you," Minato explained. Linda smiled, wiped a tear from her eye, and cleared her voice. "Thank you, and it's nice to meet you," Linda remarked, nodding. After that, she decided to finally ask what everyone else had been wondering. "I'm glad Ronnie is back, Caitlin. I really am, but I can't help but notice it was just him. Where is Naruto?" Ronnie, Dr. Wells, Minato, and Kushina all had the same uneasy expression on their faces. "We don't know," Ronnie admitted. Linda questioned him. "What do you mean you don't know? On Earth 2, Cisco noticed you with him." "You're correct, and he was. But he vanished a month ago, and we haven't found him since," Ronnie added. "So, what happened?" Brian inquired. "Zoom happened," Kushina spit angrily. "When Naruto and I were knocked onto Earth 2, we did our best to keep a low profile until Zoom sent his lackeys after us. It wasn't easy, but Naruto had to fight some serious metahumans, including our doppelgangers," Ronnie explained. "I felt the fight in my aura." Cisco shivered in revulsion as he remembered his lookalike with the extremely terrible hair. "After that, we went to see Wells and his parents. It took some explaining, but they were able to help us and actually managed to find a way to make Naruto faster." Ronnie told everyone and continued to explain what he and Naruto had been doing on Earth 2. Minato, Kushina, and Dr. Wells jumped in every now and then to help fill in the story with some finer details, but it gave the team a better idea of what happened. After their combined shockwave shorted out our system, we rebooted and looked for him, but we couldn't find him. We even traveled to the Grand Canyon, but there was nothing there. Not a drop of blood, not a sliver of his suit, not even a hair or sliver of DNA. All we discovered was an impact crater and a massive fulgurite formed by their combined lightning, Minato explained. There was no sign of Naruto. A week later, Zoom went on a rampage, and we had to spend a few days hiding in a safe room in Star Labs. We tried everything we could to find him, but we were having no success. All we could do was hide and try to find Naruto ourselves, Kushina continued. Until I found this, Ronnie said, holding out the backpack Caitlin had thrown into the hole. I recognized it the second I saw it, and we discovered the breach in the Star Labs on Earth too. We packed up and arrived here after confirming that the breach was stable. To try to figure out how to locate him. How? Linda inquired, and Ronnie pulled something from his pocket, holding it out to show everyone that it was a flash drive. This was given to me by Naruto before he went to fight Zoom for the second time. As if he knew something bad was going to happen to him, he told me to come home to Caitlin. I think he left me this as a way to find him if something happened again, Ronnie remarked, tossing it to Cisco, who connected it into the computer. We tried to crack it, Minato explained, but it has some seriously heavy encryption. Cisco plugged it in, and the computer began examining the flash drive, which contained a big data packet encrypted by a complex hexagonal dionics encryption technique. Naruto treated this drive as if it were a nuclear football. It has a hexagonal dionics encryption scheme. Felicity couldn't get into this. Wait, you mentioned hexagonal dionics encryption? Linda inquired, and Cisco replied, that was the same encryption used on his father's files. What about my files? Minato was perplexed. Not your files, but your doppelgangers. Remember, guys? Naruto's father's password protected data on the work he was duped into completing for the 9. The serums that gave Naruto his intelligence and Gaara his abilities. Does this sound familiar? She inquired, and it immediately occurred to Barry, Cisco, and Caitlin. Right. It contained the video clip his father had left him detailing what had happened, as well as all of his study. It was just before he went to Star City to deal with Orochimaru, Barry recalled. Are you referring to Senator Orochimaru? Kushina and Minato were perplexed. It's a long story, Linda explained, but his father's files were hidden in the Star Lab server and were encrypted with that same key. To open it, they needed a unique key. And I still have it. Cisco dashed over to a cabinet and rummaged through a drawer before finding the correct flash drive. Thank God Naruto never threw this out and you remembered, Linda. Well, a lot happened those few weeks that were quite memorable, Linda remarked as Cisco plugged in the flash drive. Immediately, the hexagonal dionics encryption code went to work and unlocked Naruto's encrypted data packet just like it did with the one his father left behind. Everyone watched the monitor and saw various code prompts appear on the screen. Did you damage it? Iris inquired as Cisco tapped a few buttons on the keyboard and another prompt appeared, with white lettering forming a message on the screen. North Star is also known as. Is that a puzzle? Naruto used a riddle to encrypt the path to his location. Joe was taken aback. That doesn't sound like him, Barry observed. Does anyone know how to solve the riddle? Caitlin inquired, and everyone shrugged except Linda. Can I get in there, Cisco? She asked, and he nodded, getting out of the seat to allow her to sit. She glanced at the computer for a few seconds longer before typing out a response on the keyboard, which happened to be Linda Park. North Star, also known as Linda Park. The prompt suddenly turned green, and they heard the audible clack of a lock being opened, before the screen returned to its normal display and a big file opened, displaying dozens of files of compiled data and information. Nice, Cisco commended. What is the North Star? Iris inquired. Naruto's little pet name for me, Linda recalled, smiling. Given my powers and our feelings for each other, he said I was his North Star who'll always be his guiding light leading him back to me. Ah. Iris and Caitlin were both moved. Well, we unlocked the flash drive, so somewhere in this collection of data files has to be something we can use to find Naruto, Ronnie explained when a command window emerged, with the words awaiting frequency sync. The drive is fully connected to the Star Labs computer system, and I have access to the files on it, but it appears to be looking for a unique signal frequency. It's using Star Labs satellites and our sensors to broadcast an extra-dimensional quantum broadband signal across the multiverse, similar to the one Naruto designed for his ECHO devices, Gideon explained. What exactly is an echo? Minato inquired. The Extra-Dimensional Communication Hardware Device, or ECHO, is a device Naruto created during his multi-dimensional travel that allows him to communicate between worlds in the multiverse using his multi-dimensional theorem equation. During his journey, the theorem allowed his vitals to be broadcast to the Star Labs on Earth 2, and he developed many ECHO devices to distribute to allies. Naruto added the letter O to the abbreviation to make it sound more formal. It appears that the gadget is looking for a frequency that is comparable to that of those devices. I believe you should press play, if I had to guess. Gideon stated as they saw the command prompt alter and a video recording appeared. The video contains sound advice. Linda did, and everyone watched as they saw what appeared to be a desk or computer camera recording a room when someone stepped into frame. It was Naruto, and he sat down in front of the camera, adjusted it so it had a clear view of him, and smiled. Good day, Linda. Hopefully, Ronnie, Barry, and the others will be present as well. If you're seeing this video, you've worked out how to decrypt the encryption and solved the puzzle. Only Linda would be aware of it. Sorry if it gave you a headache, but I had to be certain that this never ended up in the wrong hands. If you're reading this, it means Ronnie figured out how to go to Earth 2 and you're still together. That's good since you're going to need each other. That brings us to the key part. If this video is playing, that implies I'm dead. Everyone on the squad was stunned, and no one knew what to do. They watched as Naruto grinned to himself briefly before returning his gaze to the camera. You know, a part of me thought that making this video was pointless, but I know better. You must plan for every eventuality, even the ones you despise. And I'm not exaggerating. The flash drive should have linked to Star Laboratories on Earth 1, and Gideon should have immediately discovered that it is attempting to detect a specific frequency. The frequency is the quantum broadband signal linked to my vitals, and the signal is capable of transmitting anywhere in the multiverse. The only reason this video would play is if it didn't receive a signal, which it doesn't because I'm dead. I'm not sure how, but if I had to guess, it means Zoom's power boost was enough for him to kill me, Naruto remarked, wiping away a stray tear from his eye and clearing his throat. I didn't want to repeat that mistake. But, hopefully, a message will enough this time. Everything I have on Zoom and everything I've come up with to try to stop him is on the drive. Hopefully, it will be sufficient for you to finally put him down. I swore I'd offer my life for the team, so if you're reading this, you know I did. I apologize, Harry. I'm sorry I couldn't get Jesse back, but maybe Barry can. And I know, guys, but you may put your trust in him. You're going to need his assistance. Can you tell me who Jesse is? Joe inquired of Wells. Ronnie said, later. Ronnie, I hope you arrived home safely. Tell Caitlin I'm sorry, and have a wonderful life. Spend your honeymoon making up for missed time. And when you have a bunch of kids, you better name one after me, Naruto remarked as Ronnie and Caitlin fought back tears. Star Labs is in your hands, Cisco. I'm sure you and Gaara will accomplish wonderful things with it. I'm glad to have a friend like you in my corner, Naruto said, sniffling and wiping a tear from his eye. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry our reunion had to end in tragedy, but just seeing you guys again was more than enough. Take care, and tell Mito I love her, Naruto murmured as Kushina buried her face into her husband's chest, and Mito did the same but buried her head into her mother's side. They were all devastated to hear this, especially since they had just gotten him back. Barry, I apologize for how we left things before the singularity. Looking back, I understand why you did what you did. I simply wish I could tell you that I forgive you in person. Central City is now in your hands, but it has always been. Central City may enjoy Impulse, but they adore the Flash. And they'll need you more than ever before, but I believe you and your team can accomplish it. You'll make mistakes and doubt yourself, but if Barry Allen is anything, it's optimistic, and that was occasionally enough for both of us. Even if you can be obnoxious and an idiot at times. We were like brothers to each other. We may argue and disagree, but when it comes down to it, I wouldn't trade those moments for anything. Naruto chuckled and had tears well up in his eyes in both happiness and sadness. Barry couldn't help but chuckle at Naruto calling him an idiot and had tears well up in his eyes as well. Linda, I'm sorry I couldn't make it home. That was probably one promise I couldn't keep. I adore you above all else, and I'm not lying when I say I wouldn't be the person I am without you. I tried everything I could to get back, but it wasn't enough. I guess we finally found another thing I'm not that good at, Naruto commented as Linda watched the clip, her face unusually serene despite everyone else crying or welling up with tears. With everything that had transpired and learning what Thon had done, I was unsure and always thought that fate couldn't rule me. I had no idea where I was going or what I was going to do after I received my talents. It was more short-term aims, and that was about it. Then I met you. And everything changed. I said it then, I'll say it again, and I'll say it till the day I die. Meeting you at Jitters that day was my destiny. I simply have one question for you. Live a good, wonderful, amazing life without regret. Take care, all of you, Naruto said as he took a deep breath and wiped the tears from his eyes before looking at the camera. And give that jerk Zoom a good thrashing. We might run into each other again one day. But not anytime soon. And I'll put in a good word for everyone. He gave them one last smile before turning off the camera, and the video message ended there. The others stifled their tears and wiped them away as Linda stood up and walked out of the cortex. Barry wiped his tears and followed her, and Ronnie simply raged and knocked everything on the table to the floor. Damn it. He seethed and walked around in frustration. Naruto risked everything to get them back home, but he was the one who didn't make it. Caitlin walked over and comforted him as best she could. Kushina and Mito just kept crying while Minato held them close, looking up at the ceiling and silently praying that Naruto was at peace. Joe held Iris close, and Cisco just sat there at the desk, both crying. Linda walked out into the hallway but only made it a few yards before wobbling and falling to the side. She hunched over and placed her hand against the wall to steady herself. No sound was heard until small drops fell to the floor, which weren't water but tears. Linda covered her mouth to muffle her gasping as she cried waterfalls of tears. The dam finally broke, and she was devastated. When Barry walked out into the hallway and saw Linda crying, he walked over, tentatively rubbed her back before pulling her up and into a hug. Linda wrapped her arms around him and just cried her eyes out into his chest while Barry held her close, comforting her. His eyes were stained with tears, but mixed with the sadness, grief, and loss was also anger, rage, and determination. He would make Zoom pay for what he had done, and he would get justice for Naruto on behalf of the entire team. XXXXX line break. Jay Garrick shot up and gasped for air, looking around to see he was back in a pipeline cell. The last thing he remembered was seeing Harrison Wells and then some new guy shooting him with a gun. He patted his chest but didn't feel any kind of wound or see any blood, indicating that whatever the gun was didn't try to kill him but rather knocked him out. He heard something and turned to see Harrison Wells outside his cell with his high-tech plasma rifle. So, what did you do? Jay rose and attempted to leave his cell, but the door was locked. We put you exactly where you belong, Barry stated, approaching Well and being joined by Caitlin and Ronnie. Look, Barry, I'm not sure what Wells said to you, but he can't be trusted. I'm not the terrible guy in this situation. Zoom was created with the assistance of Harrison Wells. His particle accelerator burst underground, and the energy it released was responsible for the creation of all metahumans. Jay implored, he can't be trusted. You're not horrible at acting. I can see how you fooled everyone else on your planet, but it's not going to work anymore. We know who you are. Hunter Zolomon, Barry remarked, as Jay maintained his cool. I'm not sure who that is, Jay said. You can drop the act now that we know the truth. Before the particle accelerator granted you your powers and you embarked on a psychotic rampage on Earth 2, you were caught and accused with 23 counts of murder. We know the truth, and no amount of acting will get you out of there, Caitlin said as Jay dropped his head before picking it up, his imploring countenance replaced with humor. So, where did I go wrong? Hunter questioned, letting go of the mask. You didn't. If you'd kept it up, we'd have been duped, but we had some help, Barry replied. My friend knew there was something wrong with Jay Garrick of Earth 2. There's information there, but not much. And what superhero in their right mind would willingly expose their identity to the public, because if that was the case, Zoom would have just killed you in seconds. Heck, any other metahuman could have for that matter. Clever. Your friend is clearly smarter than Wells, Hunter mocked. I'll admit, I wanted to see him. This impulse, as Central City likes to call him. When the singularity opened over Central City, I came over here to observe you, Barry. I wanted to see the flash of this world in action because you were the hero, and everyone here considered Impulse your sidekick, but after hearing from my other self about how much trouble he was having, I was intrigued. That's got to hurt. What are you talking about? See him. What are you, a clone? A speed mirage? Caitlin questioned, chuckling. No, even I'm not that fast to create a speed mirage between two Earths. No, what I did was rather simple. I went back in time and met another version of myself. This way, I could be in two places at once. He stayed as Zoom and I could play the part of Jay Garrick, the Flash. It's rather simple, really, Hunter explained. I went back and forth using the breaches, and boy, he was impressive. Why? Barry inquired. Why come here and pretend to be a friend? Why train me? Hunter said with a slightly dissatisfied expression, to make you faster. I mean, you're good, but clearly you needed some help to be better. I watched you and your little team, and clearly all you do is talk and give sappy motivational speeches. So, some pushing and motivation from me, and you got faster. I mean, I taught you how to throw lightning. Imagine what else you could do if you were competent. Why do that? Why not just kill me if you're so much faster than I am? Barry wondered. Well, where's the fun in that? Hunter mused, as if this were all a game. You know why they feed captive sharks live prey? Because it needs the thrill of the hunt, and there is no fun in hunting prey that can't fight back. You really are insane, aren't you? Wells mumbled. I always knew there was something about you I didn't like, and now I know why. Why the charade? Dress up and run around as the Flash? Ronnie questioned. To give people hope, Hunter replied, drawing puzzled looks from the others. Hope? For what? Barry inquired, sensing a negative response. Hunter then smirked evilly, so that I could take it away from them. Barry was correct in his assessment of the response. Hunter went on. Ever since people began to fear Zoom's wrath, I've seen everyone always respond with fear in our presence. After all, when they fear for their lives all the time, what else is there to torment them? So, we decided to create a hero, someone to give the people back a spark of hope. Hope that things would get better and maybe their nightmare would end. Only for their hopes to be dashed and them to discover that the nightmare will never end, Hunter smiled. I got tired of being the villain, so I tried being a hero. I was pretty good at it. The people respected and looked up to me with awe and adoration. It was such a refreshing change from the usual stuff I carried out. After hearing Hunter Zolomon's explanation, the squad became silent. This man. No, he wasn't a man. He was a serial killer, a monster dressed in human clothing. There was no other way to describe someone like him. Even the Reverse Flash, with all his flaws, was not someone who killed for the sake of killing. He only ever did it to keep his secrets safe or to get rid of people who were in his way. This lunatic, on the other hand, was considerably worse than anyone they'd encountered since Orochimaru. You're not a hero. You're nothing more than a monster, and the only thing special about you was that you happened to be in the right place at the right time, Caitlin reminded him, and Hunter froze for a moment, as if what she said brought back horrible memories. Where's my daughter? Wells inquired. What exactly did you do to her? Hunter was taken out of his flashback and scowled at Wells, allowing everyone to see his eyes. A serial killer's eyes. You'll never find her, and when my other self comes for you all, you'll wish for a quick death. He came to a halt when he had a thought. I've noticed Impulse didn't seem to come home with you all. He smirked as a thought occurred to him. Didn't my other self already kill him? Ronnie ran to the control panel and pressed a button, sending an electric jolt across the entire cell, followed by a high-pitched screeching sound. Hunter Zolomon was jolted to the ground and his ears were deafened, although the pain was only momentary, lasting no more than a few seconds. I hope that hurt, he said as Hunter struggled to stand and stared at him for his actions. Not as much as the pain he's been feeling for a while, Wells said, looking at Hunter. I'm sure you developed a drug to help alleviate the pain you must be experiencing. It makes it easier to get through the day, but it's not a cure. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Hunter said as he rose to his feet. Did you forget about the part where I said we tested your blood? Ronnie inquired. Wells stated, we know you're dying. Cellular decay must be a painful and slow death, which is all the more fitting given what you've done. I guess all those speed drugs you're taking have really bad side effects, Ronnie observed. Well, good. Then you can sit here and die slowly. It's just a shame it can't happen faster so you're out of everyone's lives. I hope it's a painful experience, Caitlin stated before walking away, and the others did as well. You don't think I can't get out of here? Do you think you can just lock me up? Hunter inquired as he dashed to the door. My other self will appear and take your speed, Barry. Your speed will become mine, and soon every single person you've ever loved will perish. Barry turned to face Hunter, stone-faced and unafraid. Come on in and try. The cell then moved away from the pipeline opening and back into its original position with the other cells. With the power dampening band on his wrist and the extra power Gideon had assigned to his cell, only a miracle could save him. Barry, Wells, Caitlin, and Ronnie went back to the cortex and saw Cisco, Joe, Iris, and Minato. The mood was palpable, and for good cause. Linda, Barry inquired. She needed some space, so Kushina took Mito to one of the spare rooms, Minato explained, and Barry nodded. I just got off the phone with Gaara and Tsunade. Those were some difficult calls to make, Cisco explained when he was abruptly hit by a feeling. He appeared in a central city bank and noticed that everyone inside was afraid. Crouched on the ground, two staff hurriedly stuffed money into a bank bag carried by the bank manager, who shook like a leaf. That was due to the fact that he was being held at gunpoint by a metahuman. He knew it was a metahuman because it wasn't being held at gunpoint as much as it was being held at laser point. The metahuman's hands were burning brightly and threatening to pierce his skull. The metahuman was a woman dressed in white stiletto boots, black leggings, a black shirt, gloves on her hands, a black and white trench coat, and a tinted visor that concealed her eyes. He observed the metahuman whirl around and shoot energy beams at the bank's security cameras, incinerating them. Cisco. Sharp gasp. Cisco bent down in anguish, clutching his brow as Ronnie and Minato supported him. Cisco, are you okay? Ronnie inquired. Cisco, did you just vibe? Caitlin inquired. Wells deduced, vibe. What, you have powers similar to your Earth 2 doppelganger. We'll explain later. Cisco, what happened? Barry inquired. I saw another breacher. Central City Bank, Cisco said as he walked over to collect his outfit. Barry, please be careful. While Joe called in CCPD, Barry nodded and immediately suited up before speeding out of the Star Labs and to the bank. When the Flash arrived, the unknown metahuman was walking through the bank with her sack of money to the exit. You have my attention, but the bad news is that I'm not in a good mood, Flash told her. Flash. The metahuman shot a ray of light from her palm, which he narrowly avoided by dropping down. He immediately accelerated forward and shoulder attacked her, launching her into the air and smashing into one of the bank clerk's desks. Go. He yelled, and all of the hostages dashed out of the bank as quickly as they could. I know Zoom sent you here to kill me, but I don't think robbing a bank is part of that plan. It's not, but if I can get that money, I'll be able to get out of here, the metahuman said, rising from the ground and grabbing her mask, which had fallen off. Flash recognized Linda as she turned. Linda? Linda Park? Barry was surprised to see her. How do you know my name? She asked, hurriedly reapplying her mask and firing two massive bursts of blinding light from her hands. Barry covered his face, allowing her the opportunity to flee. When Barry opened his eyes after falling to the ground, he saw nothing. What's going on, Barry? Cisco radioed. I can't see, you guys, I can't see. After 1 hour, Joe and Cisco arrived at the bank and successfully returned Barry to Star Labs because he couldn't see and couldn't risk using his speed because he'd crash into a wall. Caitlin escorted him to the medical lab for a checkup. When she shone a light into his eyes, all he saw were distorted images and blurs. I still can't see. It's better than when I only saw darkness, but I have no idea what's in front of me, Barry explained. How long is this gonna last? You have solar retinopathy. Your retinas are severely damaged. Any normal person would be permanently blind, but with your rapid regeneration, you should be able to heal. It will just take time, Caitlin explained. 6.25 hours, according to my estimation, Wells said as Minato used one of their smart tablets. You said the thief was wearing a black and white trench coat with a tinted mask over her eyes? Minato inquired, and Barry responded with a nod. Yeah, Barry said, and Minato displayed an image to Dr. Wells, who nodded. You know who she is? We do. Her name is Dr. Light. She was a small-time thief on our planet until she was exposed to dark matter from the particle accelerator and became a metahuman with the ability to derive power from starlight, Dr. Wells continued, while Minato showed them some newspaper headlines from their planet. Oh, very cool, whispered Cisco. Stars have a temperature of 5,300 degrees Kelvin and a blinding luminosity. Not very cool, Wells said. You know, our Dr. Wells may have been evil, but you're just a dick, Cisco said, and Ronnie put an end to their squabble. Okay, easy guys, Ronnie said as he broke them up. This Dr. Light's powers are almost identical to Linda's, Caitlin observed. There's a reason for that. Dr. Light is Linda's doppelganger, Barry explained, surprising everyone. I knew it. I knew she looked familiar, and I did say that Dr. Light would be a good nickname for her. Cisco said only for Caitlin to whack him on the head to get him to focus. Sorry, getting back on topic. That's why Zoom sent her. He knew you'd hesitate, Wells speculated. Now that we know Zoom had his double here and they were communicating, He must have sent over a doppelganger to mess with you and keep you on edge. Well, he succeeded, Barry grumbled, rubbing his eyes and blinking many times, but his vision remained a blur. Okay, so Zoom obviously brought her over here like the others. And now that we know that, we can use it to our advantage, Wells explained. Caitlin was perplexed. We capture Dr. Light, use her to lure the real Zoom here, we get justice for Naruto, and we finally stop him, Wells explained. What do you mean the real Zoom? We just locked him up, Joe clarified. That's not the real Zoom. The real Zoom is back on our planet wreaking havoc. He killed Naruto. This one is just a time remnant who came to spy on Barry, Dr. Wells explained. A time remnant? Cisco asked, perplexed. Zoom said he time-traveled back to meet a younger version of himself so the two of them could exist at the same time, one as Zoom and the other as Jay Garrick, Barry explained. So, while Jay Garrick was tricking everyone into thinking he was the good guy, Zoom was back on Earth too dealing with Naruto and hunting us down, Ronnie explained. He'd use the breaches to communicate with his other self about what was going on. So, we took out one, but now we have to deal with the evil double, Joe grumbled. It's getting worse, Minato added. How could things be any worse? Iris wondered. Because Zoom has only gotten stronger. If we could have come here months ago, Naruto would still be alive, and he and Barry would be able to handle Zoom together, but things have changed. Minato explained. Even during the first fight Naruto had with Zoom, things were fairly even between the two. Neither of them came out of the fight unscathed. Naruto nearly lost a leg, and Zoom went into hiding for months to heal, but when he came back.
Exactly what I saw in my vibe, Cisco added. Gideon confirmed it. Zoom managed to tap into the negative speed force. He's grown stronger, and that's when things went bad, Wells explained.
And that only makes our situation worse, Cisco grumbled, rubbing his irritated brow. Who's Jessie? Joe inquired, and everyone turned to look at him and Wells. Naruto mentioned her name and you. Who is she? Wells responded, she's my daughter, Jessie is my daughter, and Zoom took her. Do you want to know why I came here? Why I'm helping? Well, that's why. She's an innocent college student and Zoom took her because I helped Naruto, because I helped him fight against Zoom. Naruto promised me he'd help her, and he risked his life for someone he didn't even know, a man who shared a face with someone he hated for messing with his life. Naruto owed me nothing, yet he risked his life for her, and I will live with that guilt for as long as I live. I'll do the same, Ronnie responded. We can run and hide if we want, but Zoom will just keep coming. Naruto knew this and gave us something we may be able to use to stop him once and for all. With what we know and now that we're back here with people who can help, we may be able to stop him for good. But how can Barry stop Zoom without Naruto if Zoom is so much faster and stronger? Iris wondered. With our assistance, we have all of Naruto's research on Zoom, as well as everything he did to increase his speed, Minato explained. Tachyon speed enhancement, training regimens, and with everything we know about Zoom, we might just be able to pull this off. That's a lot of money on a maybe, Joe pointed out. We've already lost one of our own, and we can't risk losing to Zoom again. Everyone loses someone they love. The true test of character is what you do when they're gone, Wells said. He's right, Joe, they said as they heard Linda and Kushina step in. Both appeared to have been bawling their eyes out but had managed to wipe themselves up and rejoin the others. Wells is correct. Zoom will not stop, and neither will we. Naruto will not return, but he would not want us to wallow in grief. That is not who he is, and I, for one, want to make him pay for what he did. Kushina, Ronnie, Caitlin, Cisco, Minato, and Wells all agreed, saying, amen to that. Well, first and foremost, I'd like to stop Dr. Light, and I can't exactly do that with my vision messed up, Barry explained. I have a way to make that go faster, Kushina said as she entered the engineering room where she and Minato had left their bags. She rummaged through her duffel bag until she found a little case and returned to the med lab. She took out a syringe and opened the case, showing a dozen green vials. What is that? Caitlin said as Kushina drew one of the vials into a syringe. Its technical name is about 20 syllables, but basically, it's a healing serum. It accelerates the body's natural healing process to heal complicated injuries and body conditions. Essentially, it accelerates cell activity and healing, but I've struggled with it for years, until Naruto helped me finally stabilize it and get it working. I used it on Naruto when his right leg was badly damaged. Even with his rapid regeneration, he would have lost full mobility in it, and the serum is what helped him get back to normal. With Barry, this serum should help him regain his sight sooner. How soon? Barry asked as she yanked the syringe from his arm. I'm not sure. Wells says 6 hours normally, which is probably correct, so maybe cut that time in half with the serum, Kushina speculated. Thank you, Barry said as he stretched out to shake her hand, assuming she was in front of him but was off to the side. She chuckled and took his hand in hers, shaking it. Sorry. Don't worry, Barry's eyes will heal, Kushina assured them. Now we just need to find Dr. Light. I believe I can help, Gideon said, pulling up the Star Labs satellite system and a proprietary tracking algorithm. Everyone moved over to the Cortex's main computers, with Iris and Joe assisting Barry in walking there because he couldn't see. What kind of algorithm is that? Inquired Cisco. A one-of-a-kind design by Naruto himself, Gideon stated as the Star Labs satellite and sensors began scanning the metropolis. Naruto discovered that each Earth in the multiverse vibrates at its own unique frequency, which is why they can't see or interact with one another unless either through a breach, which normally wouldn't matter unless it involved trying to track down a breacher. What Gideon used last night was what allowed me to find King Shark, Ronnie added. Awesome and fitting name, Cisco remarked as their scan isolated and identified an Earth-2 frequency in the city, and there you have it. Star Laboratories picked up an alert that came up just before the mark blip appeared on the map. The Bank of Central City's silent alarm has been triggered, Gideon announced. Wells said, that's Dr. Light. Alright, I'll send some officers there. They'll put a stop to her, Joe said as he took out his phone. No, Joe. I'll take care of it. Linda spoke up, and everyone turned to look at her. Linda, are you sure about this? Barry inquired, facing the incorrect way, so Iris assisted him. I'm certain. Anyway, it's me. It's only me who can stop me. Linda moved away to get dressed and confront her look-alike. After a few minutes, Dr. Light had carved a massive hole in the bank vault with her powers. When she came in, she noticed the numerous safety deposit boxes, some old boxes with client information, and several enormous pallets of bills for her to take. She took one of the bank bags and began stuffing it with as much money as she could, concentrating on the $100 ones. She was about to take up another stack when it was shot out of her hands and burned to a char. Those don't belong to you. She heard something and whirled around to see Linda standing beside the hole in her binary suit. Can you tell me who you are? Who is the Flash's newest sidekick? Dr. Light inquired, extending one of her light hands. Linda moved her hand over her eyes, forcing the mask to become transparent, allowing Dr. Light to view her face. Dr. Light froze in surprise before pushing a button on her mask's crownpiece, forcing her eyes shield to retract. Like looking into a mirror, isn't it? Linda inquired as she and her doppelganger exchanged glances. Linda, like Dr. Light, was astounded, but she was more serious. I must confess. I like your jacket and boots. I like your suit. At the very least, we share the same body. Dr. Light brought this up. Are you here to assassinate the Flash? If you were, you wouldn't be robbing a bank. So, what do you desire? Linda inquired about her doppelganger. I'm just trying to get enough money to get out of here and escape. I could slip away and Zoom would never find me, but you just given me a better idea. I can survive if I take your place. I transform into you, and Zoom will never find me. Dr. Light held up her palm, which blazed like a star. I've never killed anyone, but it's not murder if the victim is your double. Dr. Light fired a light blast at her twin, but Linda raised her own palm and absorbed the energy, much to her surprise. She was unharmed, and she appeared to be revitalized. There are many similarities between us, as well as many differences. You gain power from starlight, but I have the ability to manipulate, generate, and absorb light, including yours. Linda raised her palm and fired a tremendous light blast at Dr. Light, knocking her against the shelf containing all of the bank data. That's when the light explosion became solid and wrapped around the torso. Light looked around and noticed that her doppelganger had used her talents to create a hard light construct, light compacted into a hardened state. Linda then yanked, and the hard light wrapped around Light's torso, yanking her off the shelf and hurling her back out of the hole she bore into the side of a vault. Dr. Light fell to the ground but swiftly got back up. She quickly fired a light blast, which Linda intercepted with a light barrier before firing her own. Her explosion was more strong, and it impacted Light hard, knocking her back. Light ended up hitting a table and collapsing, knocking herself asleep. Linda moved forward, checking to see if her lookalike had been knocked unconscious. To put it another way, I'm stronger than you. I also outgrew the ponytail. Linda said as she slipped a power-dampening band around Light's wrist. XXXXX line break Star Laboratories. Linda and Caitlin returned to the brain after dropping off Linda's doppelganger in the pipeline. Dr. Light is now safely locked away in the pipeline, Caitlin informed them. Nicely done, Cisco stated as he gave Linda a fist bump. Cisco is correct. You're far more powerful than Light ever was. And with a better understanding of your abilities, Wells made a remark. Well, I was inspired. That must have been enough, Linda made a remark. I'll say it. We guess your photokinesis has developed to emit harsh light now. And, while I confess that I like your current suit, there is something appealing about the jacket Light is wearing. Cisco made a remark, and everyone, including Linda, laughed. That jacket and helmet, as well as her boots, looked great, Linda admitted after noticing Barry move about a little. Are you okay, Barry? Yeah. Vision is returning. Barry waved his hand in front of his face and walked forward without colliding with anyone. Thank you once more for putting a stop to Light. Well, since I was evil, who better to stop her than myself? Linda brought this up. But we now have her. We follow Dr. Wells' advice. Use her to entice Zoom here and put an end to this once and for all. I still believe it is too soon. Poking the bear in this way. Joe expressed concern. Perhaps we shouldn't rush this. We go at our own pace. We're out of time. It won't be long before Zoom knows his time remnant is either locked up or dead, at which point he'll come here for us. As a result, we must strike him before he strikes us. As said by Wells, it's the only way we'll be safe. He's correct. More breachers could arrive and endanger innocent people. We've been fortunate thus far, but our good fortune will soon run out. We were able to stop Dr. Polaris, Sand Demon, and Light from harming innocent people, but the next breacher may decide to take the city hostage or begin killing people in order to draw me out. That is not going to happen. Zoom, Hunter Zolomon, he wants us to be terrified. He imagines himself to be a walking nightmare, but I've already had one. His name was Reverse Flash, and I was terrified of him for a long time. I'm not going to be afraid any longer. Everyone nodded as Barry declared. And I'm not fighting him by myself. Naruto may not be present, but all of us are. Everyone is present. I have all the assistance I require. Naruto sacrificed his life so that we could stop Zoom. We owe it to him to complete this. It's exactly what he desires. It's for Naruto. Everyone agreed when Linda stated that. For Naruto. The team may have lost one of their members, but they remain strong. It was time to go on the offensive, with fresh allies and assistance, and make Zoom pay for everything he'd done. It was going to be an epic battle, but would they be victorious? Will they discover the truth about Naruto before it's too late? The force of Speed Naruto lived deep within the Speed Force, in the chaotic yet orderly and tranquil dimension of pure speed, energy, and time. He sat in the heart of it all, past the dispersed sceneries and things pulled from history into the spinning tornado of energy. He sat totally still in the middle of a spinning tornado of energy in various colors and lightning. He wasn't worried or alarmed by what was going on, he was content. His legs were crossed and his hands were on his knees. His eyes were closed, his chest moved slowly up and down, indicating that he was concentrating on his breathing, and his face was peaceful. He was calm and appeared to be meditating, but the only thing that was noticeable was that his lightning was flickering about him. His crimson and white lightning sparkled and flickered perfectly around his body. Naruto was also special in that he was a little different. On first sight, it wasn't evident, but on second view, someone could tell he'd gotten a little older, as if he'd aged a year. The Speed Force was an extra-dimensional source of kinetic motion and time that existed outside of the multiverse's usual space and time, hence time was not fluid. So, Naruto's perspective of time was different, and while he had been gone for a month to his friends and family on Earth 1, it felt more like a year to him. A year spent viewing all of his past, present, and future possibilities at once and training his body and mind in ways he never imagined possible. Feel the power. Feel the electricity coursing through your veins. As Naruto continued to sit and concentrate, a disembodied voice resonated across the Speed Force. His lightning flared and flickered more regularly around his body, indicating that he was collecting more power and becoming more in sync with it. You're no longer you. You are a part of something bigger than yourself. You're a member of the Speed Force. You are Speed. Naruto's lightning was absorbed into his body with a quick inhale, and he emerged with a blinding burst of multicolored light. His torso was coated in solid crimson and white light that resembled his impulse suit, but it had a full covered cowl like he saw in his scare toxin-induced dream. The entire potential of his Speed Force armor, providing him with unrivaled protection, increased speed, and power. Inside the Speed Force armor, Naruto's eyes were flashing white before he held out his palm and additional energy appeared in the form of a sword. Constructs of speed and force. Only speedsters with the strongest connection to the Speed Force could use this talent, and even then, it was difficult to master despite being one of the most potent skills a speedster could have. Naruto's experience in the Speed Force had strengthened his power and unlocked his full potential, but there was still more for him to learn as he flew through the Speed Force at tremendous speeds. He would be a new impulse when he surfaced. To be continued.
That's it for this podcast. If you listened to this video, I hope you did enjoy the story, and if you did, like, share, and subscribe for more, and thank you all for your support, and have a great day.